es la voz de LA. It's like una galaxiana, come and kick it with us. I bring the bossa nova beats and talk the club that we love. Another year to adjust, and Will Kuntz we all trust. 6 titles in the cabin, tell a hater shut up. Mirar al horizonte con el cielo morado. Llegamos al estadio como siempre lo hago. Es la nueva temporada, ya cumplí 30 años. Rezándole a San Pequi que no dé al travesaño. Que repartan los balones y no sean tacaños. Que regrese el contraataque y que le hagamos daño. Un saludo para Robert, hermanos ecuatorianos. Que la táctica de Ananda nunca sean en vano. Si se trata de mi gala me levanto temprano. Ver el fur en verano, en el pasto tumbado. Siempre estoy a tu lado, en cualquier resultado. Vamos Galaxy, on top is where I gotta be. Chilling in the canopy, staging like a winery. Goals during rivalries, brew from the refinery. Only want the finer things, we letting you know. Lo que pasa en la galaxia, ready, let's start the show.
Hello, hola, and buenas, and welcome back to another edition of La Cuna Galaxiana, a podcast always made with love for all you LA Galaxy fans, wherever you may be out there in the world. Today, it's another edition of Sad Full Hours as the LA Galaxy have lost their unbeaten run and are back at ground zero after a disappointing 2-1 loss at home to Orlando City on Saturday, March 29th, in a match that they led and could have won and then threw away after a series of mistakes. The loss leaves them looking for their first win of the MLS season still, and has Greg Vanney looking for answers as things aren't breaking LA's way this season. We'll take a look at the Galaxy's good start, how this match slipped away, and another chapter in the Galaxy's goalkeeping saga. Plus, is the upcoming Champions Cup match against Tigres now a must-win? All of that and more coming up on La Cuna Galaxiana. But before we go any further, let me introduce myself. I'm one of your co-hosts, Rob Halon. You can find my written work at Extra Time Talk and the Sporting Tribune, and you can find me online at El Escudero de LA. And of course, we have my co-host right next to me as usual, Ananda Kirana, El Yerno Guapo, El Gitano Perdido, jet-setting across the world, but still making time to talk a little bit of LA Galaxy soccer with us today. And man, I would like to say that we're here under better circumstances, Ananda. But you know what? We'll talk about the game. But how was the flight? The very long flight.
It was long. I'll say that it was long. It felt arduous, but no, it was okay, man. I'm still a little bit jet lagged. It is pretty early here, local time. So you guys can, you investigators out there can start figuring out where I am, because I'm in the morning. And of course we're actually recording this the day after the match. So this is a Sunday. Again, this is a pre-recorded one, guys. So unfortunately, we could not revel in sad foo hours and group therapy with you all. Although, Rob, we probably need the energy and the chat, right? So, I mean, just the vibe, whether it's, even though it's like sad foo's energy, Modelo foo's energy, whatever that energy is, we definitely miss you guys. But this would have been a good one probably to react to with the chat, because, yeah, man, like you said, Vanney's looking for answers. This team is in the doldrums right now. Dare I say, Rob, this is a really, really harken back to 2023, where we are in 14th and SKC are in 15th. We are battling for last place in the Western Conference. 6 games in, Vermees still has a job. With 0 points. I don't know how that's the case, but that's another story for another day.
They have one. They have one.
Oh, they have one. Well, I give them less credit then. They have 1 point, and we just one up them with that extra point again. This is in our first season of doing this in 2023. This is like, it's taking me back to those harsh realities when we started this teeny tiny pod. But bro, like, how the hell did we lose that game? And that's gonna be my one-word reaction, which is how. Like, how did that happen? Like, so let me spoiler alert. I watched this game on replay. And by the way, if Apple TV, if you guys are listening to this, y'all need to do something with people that can't watch the game live and then they want to do the replay, but they have to see the stupid final result on the thumbnail before you click on the thing. Like, that completely ruined it for me.
What's it?
Yeah. So already I was like, okay. So I was going into it expecting, This is actually an interesting. I'm glad we're doing this because, and I'm glad it kind of happened this way because I came into it expecting like a dross performance, right? And I'm sitting there watching the game, Rob. First half, super solid, up 1-0. We score first. Hey, first time this season, right?
First time this season.
Get into the second half.
Leading
Okay,
at the half.
yeah, Orlando has
What is
periods of sustains pressure. Orlando has periods of the ball, sustained pressure. We get through it unscathed. Couple close calls, but fine. And then so I'm sitting there in the 70th or whatever minute, whenever that play happened, and I'm like, okay, I know the final result, but how the hell did we get there? It's 70 minutes in, and I'm feeling like we're gonna pull out with a result, right? Worst case scenario, they get a fluke goal at the last minutes, but we don't come out of here with anything other than at least 1 point. So by the end of 90 minutes, I'm like, well, first of all, oh, that's what happened. And I'm like, how the hell did that happen? And that's my one word reaction, man. Just how? How the hell did that happen?
I'm glad you gave me your one word reaction. I will give you mine in a moment, but you didn't do your housekeeping, and I'm kind of disappointed in you. I mean, like I know you're drinking coffee. It's the morning.
I got fired up with that wine word, man. That's like, it's just like, what the hell?
Yeah, my sentiments as well, but I'll give you mine in a moment after
Cool.
you bust your housekeeping.
Yeah, so of course, guys, you can always follow me, block me, or stalk me at Ananda Galaxiana. My handle is right there, and Rob's is under his name as well for everyone watching on YouTube. But of course, we want to welcome those.
Read.
Yeah, and right, and also we do want to welcome those listening to audio only because you smartly decided that you didn't want to see our ugly faces, and that's okay. We welcome everyone on audio as well, listening to. Of course, this is not a live stream. This is on playback. So definitely welcome all of you guys there. And of course, thank you all of you guys for getting us to 500. We are on the march to 600 subs. So hopefully we can get there by the end of next month. But guys, do us a favor and go ahead. If you do like what you're listening to, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit those notification bells on our channel so that you do know when we have new episodes coming out like this one, new live streams. That's usually every Monday through Thursday. Again, we're on an adjusted schedule this week because I am jet setting the world, as Robert said at the top of the show. But just wanted to thank you, man. It's hard work out here, Papa. It's hard work. Someone's got to do it. Alguien tiene que levantar el país. But anyways,
Right.
guys. So, and of course,
single-handedly simulating this economy.
Hit those like buttons, guys. It would really help us out. And of course, Papa, como siempre, antes de olvidarme, buenos días, tardes o noches, y bienvenidos a otro capítulo de La Cuna Galaxiana. Again, this isn't a live stream, so we miss you, chat. And Papa,
Los extrañamos.
Let's get back into it. Your one word match. Other than how the hell that happened.
Yeah, before I'm gonna delay. Voy a delatar un momentito. And also show my love to chat. We miss you guys. These pre-recorded shows harken back to the first season. I mean, we're talking, reminiscing about when we started. The performance is kind of looking the same. Well, today's show is kind of the same because we used to do this pre-recorded. Today's one of those pre-recorded days, and man, it just goes to show me like how important you really are, chat. Thank you so much for always being there. And yeah, we miss you. We'll be back on Thursday, and yeah, we'll one of us is going to be back on Thursday. The cosmopolitan one over here, he'll be out doing his thing. But anyway, yeah, my one word match reaction. I'll preface this with saying that I was in the throes of like a really, really fun, good evening. I wasn't at the game. First home game that I've missed in like 2 years or something like that, Ananda. I was playing a show for Wildfire Relief, had a good time. And then I once I played my set, I got off and I started watching the match, and I watched this on replay again, but I picked it up around the 75th minute, just right before the penalty happens, right? And we'll talk about that penalty here in a little bit, but that's when that penalty happens. This is pretty much my one word match reaction. Typical, because when it happens, I said this team. I was like, man, watch this team throw this game away now, and the Tria Chupapa. Like it happened, and no shade to these players because they've been there and won already. But it's one of those things where you don't see that belief in them that they had last year. Last year there was moments where they fell behind, and you had that feeling that they were going to find a way back in. Of course, it's kind of hard to come back from a 90th minute blunder like that. Not a lot of time left, but even when the penalty was given against them, I had this like impending sense of doom rather than last year's sense of like, hey, it's going to be okay. They have time to pull this out. So I guess typical is my one word match reaction. And it sucks because this team on paper should not be suffering these defeats, or the season shouldn't be going the way it's going. But we'll get into a little bit into more of that. But yeah, man, it was one of those things where I was like, man, I hope now that I'm not there today, they pick up a win. And then they did not, and so I was like, well, at least it's not me. Nothing that I'm doing is affecting the ether out there, and I'm contributing. But anyway, man, typical is my one word match reaction. It was not enjoyable catching the last 75, the last like 20 minutes, and then going back and rewatching this again, because you see how much of a difference there was between the Galaxy the first 65 minutes and then the Galaxy in the last what's mass 25 minutes. Yeah, there we go.
15 minutes plus injury time, basically.
Well, no, because I mean, like it really just started with like a gradual drop off around the 65th for me, anyway.
Sure.
So,
but then the game flips on its head after that penalty, which is in the 76th minute. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like the penalty happens because Orlando is pressing, and they're starting to become dangerous. Sure. And but anyway, we will get into this. For those of you guys who didn't have to suffer watching this twice, the LA Galaxy's 3-match unbeaten run across all competitions came to an end following a 2-1 loss to Orlando City in front of almost 22,000 fans at the Digs. Christian Ramirez was that guy again. He scored for the 4th game running, and he puts the Galaxy ahead in the 14th minute, like Ananda mentioned, the first time that's happened all season. And LA was on their way to their first win of the season until referee John Freeman decided he was going to make himself the central figure of this match, and he awards a phantom penalty to Orlando City's Eduardo Atuesta for a foul on Mickey Yamane, which then Martin Ojeda comes up and dispatches past John McCarthy. And then, well, Ananda, you think that the Galaxy are going to get out of there with at least a point? Galaxy might get out of there with a draw, and just when you think it's going to end all square for the Galaxy's 3rd straight draw in a row, John McCarthy decides he's going to leave the Galaxy goalkeeper battle open by committing what can only really just be called a blunder. I'm sure he won't like watching that one back. He misjudges Luis Muriel's free kick from about 30 yards out. I think he just simply misjudges this, Ananda. He tries to catch it. He doesn't anticipate the trajectory, the power, and he drops it. And he drops it right into net. And happens around the 90th minute. Not a lot of time for the Galaxy to even really get back in the match after that, but turns the routine free kick into the game winner for Muriel and Orlando City, gives them that 2-1 win moments before injury time. And you're left sitting there wondering what could have been, right? But in 8 matches now played across all competitions, To begin the campaign, the Galaxy hold a 1-5-2 record. Mickey Yamane recorded an assist for a second consecutive match dating back to March 22nd. That's his second consecutive assist to Christian Ramirez. Edwin Cedillo made his 50th career MLS regular season appearance for the Galaxy, and he had his first assist of the season as well. He starts this play with a fine crossfield ball that finds Yamane, and Yamane feeds it into Ramirez. Dieguito Fagundes made his 398th career MLS start. Regular season appearance, which ranks 15th all time in MLS history. But he did start. Joseph Paintsol also made his first appearance of the season, logging 30 minutes as a second half substitute. Good to see the Unbreakable one back. Now this is kind of where it gets a little sad, Ananda. The loss gives the Galaxy the fewest points ever collected by a reigning champion through 6 games of a season, with 2. The old record was 4, which the 2003 Galaxy actually took care of handling as well. And now the no clean sheet streak is up to 9 games here, man. So it's panic stations. How we've been saying. I mean, we've been counseling kind of like that like they need time. But these trends are starting to pick up, and these aren't good standards to be setting, especially if you want to make a credible challenge for MLS Cup. But let's go ahead and start at the beginning. Yeah, you were gonna say?
No, I was just kind of reacting in my mind to what you're saying about the panic stations thing. I think the only saving grace is if we can pull out a couple of performances in CCC, right? Because I think in the league things are looking. I've got 2 fingers, 3 fingers over the panic button, Rob, and it's a shame because the one thing, like I said, I don't know how this game ended up the way it did, because I thought performance-wise, arguably in that first half for sure, I think that was the best 45 minutes we played all season. So I felt encouraged by the performance. Like I said, I didn't feel like we were under huge threat until the
Tucker's
game
a
flipped
dog,
on its
man.
head in the 75th. Yeah, we might talk about his performance a little bit later, but it's just, to me, I think that's, if you look at it in totality, I think it is panic stations. But I want, just again, maybe glass half full in me says that the performances have been getting better the last couple of games. Unfortunately, the results aren't there, and we're going to talk about it on our talking points. It's because the Galaxy always find ways to shoot themselves in the foot.
Yeah. You don't need yourself as your own enemy out there on the pitch.
That's
but
right, yeah.
let's start at the beginning here. Let's go ahead and talk about this starting lineup. What did you see in this, man?
Yeah, let's pull up that graphic there. So we talked about this last time, and I do want to point this out because I had a feeling that this was going to happen with the midfield trio. I said that Tucker Lepley might get the nod, and he did. Right now, of course, JP did not start this game. I didn't expect him to play 90 minutes, let alone 60. And it looked like he only played 30 minutes plus injury time, right?
30
He subbed
plus,
on.
yeah.
He subbed on for Tucker Lepley. So, but again, Tucker, like you rightly pointed out, I thought he had a good performance. He was making the right runs. He's very comfortable, like I said, going past the ball and making those runs into the channels. He was finding himself deep in that left-hand corner a little bit. I wish, though, maybe it's just him getting used to that position, or maybe an MLS play, but I think over time he's just got to build a knack of how to make those maybe out to in runs, or maybe get himself in more dangerous positions, because he can shoot the ball. Rob, we saw in preseason he scored 2 goals right against Minnesota United, so we know that he can find the back. He's a guy that can find the back of the net. We just got to put him in the right positions. But again, I thought he had a pretty solid performance overall. FOTMob, surprisingly, I think only gave him a 6 point something. I thought he had a little bit better of a better performance than that.
So
John McCarthy, we're going to save for later. And then, again, no big surprises for me, other than maybe for you, in that JP didn't start and you would have started Diego at the number 10, which, by the way, you were correct in that, because when JP did get into the game, Diego dropped into his number 10 position, which I think we've a lot of Galaxy fans have been saying that Diego looks pretty good as a number 10 on this particular team. And yeah, he looked pretty good, I thought.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that he looked good in that 10 role. I mean, he's just, for me, more dangerous there. He can combine
Yeah.
and with more people than out there on the wing, especially if the other team is playing him in isolation. He doesn't have people to combine off of.
Yeah,
So
it just works better for the team dynamics too. You want the speedier 1v1 sort of guys on the wings, right? And Diego's not that, especially at this point in his career. But what he is a guy that can dictate tempo from the middle. He can make those deep lying runs, and we've seen him. I mean, he almost scored a peach of a curler in this game, right, from that middle position, and that's where you want Diego, sort of in that middle, being able to either make a good pass or keep the play knitted together. And just have speed on the outsides, because that's the one thing against MLS teams, or for the Galaxy, which is a huge threat, is Greg always talks about attacking with speed, finishing with speed, and entering the final third with speed. And so you need that like speed characteristic on your wingers. And Diego, at this point in the career, he's a guy that's not going to really run the channels as much. He can do it, but not consistently. But he's a guy that likes to cut inside. So I feel like the number 10 position is just better for his skill set and where he is, like I said, where he's most effective at this point in the career. And so, yeah, those team dynamics look pretty good. And I think if we're going to talk about positive here, I think that is one positive moving forward, is having JP back in that wing and Diego operating in that number 10 position, where he was successful last year, Rob, without Ricky Puig. Remember how good Diego's performances was last year in that number 10.
Well, we saw flashes of that. Unfortunately, it didn't lead to the win. Unfortunately, this blunder at the end of the game takes care of any chance of the win there. But before we get into these talking points, Ananda, go ahead and give us the numbers of the match.
Yep. So if we can pull that graphic up there. So final box score here, guys. I'm just going to talk to the key ones. So possession-wise, Rob, it was 50-50. I think I'm not surprised at this stat, because we know that Orlando is comfortable with the ball. Even though this year they've been lower in possession, but we know Oscar Pareja's teams, especially given the game state, right? They were down 1-0. They had to put onus on the Galaxy, and it showed in the final position stats, and they were comfortable with having the ball. So I'm a little surprised, but not too surprised on that one, that the Galaxy didn't have an overly dominant performance. 15 shots for the Orlando to Galaxy's 10. 4 shots on goal for Orlando versus Galaxy's 2 apiece there in the block shots category. Total passes pretty even, Rob. Again, this goes to show you, I think, the periods of sustained dominance that Orlando had. 490 total passes versus our 468. Again, normally, and if it's a good LA Galaxy performance, typical Greg Vanney ball performance, we usually see that number tilt towards the Galaxy side. 87% pass accuracy for the Galaxy to basically 87 as well for Orlando. The one I'll go down to next is expected goals, 1.8 for Orlando versus Galaxy's 1.1. Again, I think probably in the run of play they had the more dangerous opportunities, but of course an unforced error on one that was probably like a 0.000001 expected goal from that 40-yard free kick, right? And again, it's a goalkeeping error. Again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. The other one that I wanted to pull up, Rob, because I think this is the story of the game, and I think this is what both of us, you and I, both of our eye tests are telling us, is that. So if you go to the next slide here, this is sort of like a momentum chart. I think they have these at FOPNOB, but I pulled this up from MLS Soccer, Rob, and this is a new one. So this is basically showing this period of possession in 5-minute intervals, right? So you see in the first half, the Galaxy start off the game hot, and they scored during, I think Christian Ramirez's goal was within the first 20 minutes, right? And you see that play out in sort of the first third of the game. Now, there was a period of sustained possession, I remember, for Orlando City. But again, there were no clear-cut chances created. So yes, they did have possession, but the Galaxy did well, and they were resolute defensively in those moments. So again, this is going to our thought that after the first half, we had a good half. It was a solid half, right? This is what we wanted, and we survived those periods of possession that Orlando had. But coming out of the blocks, I don't know what was said at halftime, but we were not ready. You see, there in the first 20 minutes, the Orlando City had most of the
Big
possession.
discrepancy.
Right. And that little block where the Galaxy had that little possession, Rob, I don't know if you remember, there was a good 5-minute spell there for the Galaxy. Christian Ramirez had a shot that he kind of shanked. It was a half volley, to be fair to him. He was in the box, but he kind of shanked that one out. And also Miki Yamane had a shot outside the box that he just hit to the outside of his foot, and it went up to Rosie. But again, that was a pretty decent, I would say, counteracting spell of possession there for the Galaxy. But again, it only lasted 5 minutes, and then everything again tilted. The game pretty much flipped on its head at that point. And this is the thing, right? Like, you see those momentum charts, and I think it backs up what you and I.
Oh, that's that's two shots from Ronaldo.
That's number 2. I think it backed up what we saw right from the eye test, which was the Galaxy just dropped off from the first half to the second half. But not only that, but it was disappointing, I think, to see how the Galaxy reacted after the game turning play, right? Which we'll talk about in a little bit. And Rob, unfortunately, man, from that point on, it was same old Galaxy. It's funny because in the Arsenal circles, there's this thing called same old Arsenal, right? They do everything, they get everything right, but they don't win anything, and they shoot themselves in the foot. Well, in this case, it's same old Galaxy, man. It's unfortunately we always find a way to shoot ourselves in the foot. This is an early symptom, unfortunately, of Greg Vanney's early LA Galaxy teams, whether even when Chicharito was on the team as well, right? It's, like, how many times, I feel like in the 22 season as well, Rob, like how many times did we have like a 1 goal or 2 goal lead, and we just somehow gave a silly penalty away? Chicharito misses a last minute penalty to win the game. Like, you remember those blunders in the 2022 season? Yeah, the Panenka. Like, and this is why this performance, like, rightly or wrongly, took me back. Like, it's a PTSD. It took me back to those moments, right? And it's just, man, it's I don't know what we can do to get out of it, but we're certainly in that rut right now. And this is going to your point at the very top of the show, Rob, which is last year you didn't feel this with this team. They had a certain fight, they had a certain mental edge, they had a certain mental toughness, and we even praised their toughness in on the road in the 2 road points that they got. But right now, it's looking like same old Galaxy, and unfortunately at home as well, to add insult to injury, man.
Yeah, you showed that interval chart, and really, this is a little bit more to add to this one. They didn't take advantage of when they were on the front foot and dominating this match.
Right.
They didn't put their chances away. I mean, they had that one shot that Diego had that hit the post. I mean, who knows what would happen if Gabby Peck puts that shot past Gallese, places it a little better. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, it's starting to feel like that. But we actually have a little bit of context here. I mean, just to give you guys a little bit of an idea of how clear the drop off was from the first half to the second half. Ananda told you guys about a little bit already, but in the first half, Orlando had an XG of 0.18. In the second half, they had an XG of 1.4. So it's dramatically different what they were able to generate in the second half.
Yeah, I will caveat that, though, in saying that the penalty is usually a high XG chance, so that covers up for I would say a majority of that, maybe 50% of that. Usually XG is like 0.5, 0.6, something like that. But that doesn't take away from, you saw in the most momentum charts, right, where Orlando was dominant. And Rob, they could have had a couple more. Eddie Atuesta hits the post. Duncan McGuire has a free header in the box. Like, there, who was that? Freeman blazing a shot across the box, just right in front of McCarthy. I mean, they were knocking on the door. So fair credit to Orlando for putting us under the cosh.
Did it feel like to you like the defense dropped off because they were running out of steam? I definitely felt like there was a let off a little bit.
Maybe. I think it was probably more so to do with Orlando and them really putting their imprint on the game, and they started to find the spaces. But I think I will say this though, to your point, I think from a dueling capacity, I think Eddie Atuesta took over the game. I think he was the best player probably in the last 20, 25 minutes of that game. Him and Araujo, man, as the double pivot. I mean, they were winning a lot of their duels. They were getting to the second balls. So I think from that perspective, they did drop off, but that was because they were being outdueled, and Tucker Lepley, for all his good offensive qualities, and he's neat and tidy on the ball. Same with Parente. They're not the most physical, right? So you're going to get outdueled a lot, quite a bit, and maybe those young guys did run out of a little bit of gas towards those 20 minutes, but it was clear that Eddie Atuesta and Araujo ran the show, I think, and that contributed hugely to Orlando's second half.
Ananda, we had a guest tweet from one of our favorites, right?
Dale.
That with Dale here. So in response to the Podfather, saying he says here, wow, a game of the Galaxy were in control of, spiraled out of control thanks to a highly suspicious PK and a massive goalkeeping mistake. The judge, Sophie Nicolau, says all those things are true, but in the second half, passing in the final third to be on average, midfield mediocre, defense ran out of steam, last 25, mentally dropped out of the game. And that's kind of what we were talking about that mental toughness. It just seemed like when this penalty happens, they weren't able to recover, right? And if you guys didn't see this penalty, it's one of the softest penalties you're ever going to see, right?
Yeah, I wish we had a clip of it, but it's, I mean, what is he supposed to do, right? The way I saw it, and I think we retweeted Josh from the Pool Reporters. He asked the Pool Reporter question about this, and let's just say you guys can go ahead and read it, but I think the response to that was completely bogus. He's literally not even making a tackling or defensive action kind of play. Literally, the way I saw it was he's just tripped over a standing foot. I mean, what are you to do at that point, right? The attacker literally tripped over. Atuesta trips over a standing foot. I mean, what are you going to do there? Like, he's literally not making a defensive action. He just did a quick step over. His foot happened to be there, and he, tripped over it. So,
yeah, well, since you mentioned the Podfather, Josh points out that Freeman was the referee. Freeman was the same referee that gifted LAFC a penalty kick last year in El Tráfico. However, the same referee does not award a penalty for the foul on Joseph Painso in the 63rd minute, which was, much more contact than Mickey Yamane and Atuesta.
yeah.
But
and he gave Mickey a yellow card for a dive, right? Which was arguably a very similar, okay, like maybe slightly less contact, but a very similar play in the first half. So yeah, boggles the mind sometimes.
I'd argue they were about the same amount of contact, but no, this penalty aside, like we were talking about, this is not a penalty, but the Galaxy need to take these moments and get over them like they were doing last year, and they really didn't, and they weren't able to lift themselves up from that. And we have a little bit more from Greg Vanney, who will tell us the difference between the first half, the second half, and what he saw in that penalty.
As part of the problem, because I can go through, I don't know how many goals we've given up over the course of the season. I'd have to add them up, but at least half of them have been somewhat ridiculous for us. And, there's points inside of those goals that we've lost. That to me is like unacceptable for where we are at this point, and coming back as champions to be giving up these types of soft goals in ways that, again, mean you're losing points. Yeah, I understand. Also, we're not scoring a ton of goals at the moment and creating a boatload of chances. That I think is going to continue to grow and evolve with this group as we continue to get healthier, connected, more detail oriented, and some of those things I think we're going to improve in those ways. But there's no reason why we're giving up these types of goals. And we had some other okay looks, decent looks. We hit the post. We had some other good spots. I thought we had some really good spells of possession. I thought, for 60 minutes, 50 minutes, I thought they didn't have great solutions for us. They tried to change the way they were pressing us. We reorganized the way we were setting up, and then we were able to break their lines and go at them again and again. And so, again, I thought there were tons of solutions inside the game, and we did a pretty good job of finding them, but you kill yourself, when you do things to give up goals, and then it changes the emotion of things because we've been battling to put ourselves in position to get 3 points, and then we lose that in two swift actions. So that's the disappointing part, yeah.
I mean, Greg just puts it all out there, man. I mean, you beat yourself, you shoot yourself, you kill yourself. I mean, and unfortunately, it opens the door to instability in the back, and now the goalkeeper plot it thickens, Ananda. I mean, we were sitting here thinking that John McCarthy had come in and taken over this position again. Once again, he's back. He takes the spot from Novak, but it seems like neither one of these keepers wants to grab and just hold on to that number one position. I mean, this is the second game in a row that John McCarthy makes a mistake that leads to a goal. Fortunately, in the first one, the Galaxy were able to find a way back. They're not able to do so in this one. So, our colleagues were able to ask Greg Vanney if this opens the door to more competition, and he said it certainly could be if they both want to keep leaving the door open for one another. I hope not. Somebody needs to take ownership of it and be the guy. Again, somebody needs to take ownership of it and be the guy. John did it all last year, and he's capable, and he needs to bounce back, but we'll see as we move forward. And it's not good, man. I mean, 9 games in a row where the Galaxy haven't kept a clean sheet. And again, it's putting instability into your back line. I mean, not being able to have that number one, who's your unimpeachable number one. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I like John a lot as a goalkeeper. I mean, like, if it were me, I would be probably starting him over Novak personally.
Yeah.
But that's 2 games in a row, and a goalkeeper of his experience and I believe his quality. I mean, he's a good shot stopper, so he should be stopping this goal. I mean, like I said earlier, I don't think he's going to want to watch this one again.
Yeah, well, more than anything, I was just so disappointed in that because we've been lauding John McCarthy on the show about making winning plays, right? And because he's shown evidence of that over the past year and a half that he's been with us, or a year and change. And it's just disappointing to see these mistakes, right? These are just silly mistakes that you wouldn't expect from John McCarthy. And so it kind of makes me wonder a little bit, Rob, and chat, go ahead or everyone listening on this playback, go ahead and put this in the comments of the video as well. But I want to ask you this question, Rob, which I just thought about post-match, which is, do you think some of this unsettling of both goalkeepers, do you think Vanney has a part to play in this? Do you think he's a little bit to blame? Because I feel like the gray area of the goalkeepers right now and the chopping and changing and, basically announcing first that Mitrovic is your guy, but then you're falling back on the other goalkeeper whose confidence is already shot because he was already declared the number 2 after winning MLS Cup, right? So do you think it's harsh or fair or foul? And that part of this is on Vanney with all the chopping and changing and creating that instability.
I could see why you might think that, but nah. I mean, he's got to do what's best for the team, right? So if he should have the latitude to say, okay, well, this guy's not cutting it. Like, I got to go with the other guy, right? I mean, you do it in basketball all the time, right? I mean, it's the fourth quarter, but your star player hasn't been playing well. You take him out in the fourth quarter. I mean, like, you go with who's playing better, and so Vanney should have that freedom to go ahead and pick. I don't think it's him. I think it's really these two players that, like, again, he said it. Someone needs to stand up and be the guy, right? And neither one of these two goalkeepers who are and it's frustrating because I believe they're both good keepers. Neither one of them wants to say like, "Hey, this is me. I have it." And yeah, I mean, it's showing on the field and results. I mean, and the goals
do
that they're shipping.
do we break glass and start JT now? Go ahead and put it in the chat, guys, or put it in the comments. Do you break glass and start JT at this point? Anyways, I have
Oh,
to, but I have
you're
not.
you really trying to start the goalkeeper saga over here, man.
Greg said it. No one's grabbing a hold of it and taking it by the scruff of the neck. So,
Let's see.
anyways, we move
I
on.
see. I see how you're a troublemaker over there, bro. All right. Well, yeah, like Ananda said, put it in the comments if you think you're ready to see some JT.
Actually, I don't
Who
even know if he's
knows?
healthy. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's healthy yet. Or is he? Because I thought
Yeah, he was on the
recovering.
bench.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was on the bench. So he's ready to go.
We'll
But
see.
uh,
We'll see.
so the Galaxy lose this one 2-1 off the John McCarthy blunder. Still winless. Still have not won at home. It was churro night, and they dropped it on churro night. It was equipment sale night, and they dropped it on equipment sale night. But we will always try to leave something positive here for you guys, for you listeners out there. If there's anything positive that you could take away from this game, it was that Christian Ramirez was continuing his fine form, 4 games in a row where he's scored now. It seems like he is starting to figure out how to play with this team. Not only did he score the goal, but he's actually popping up and making more chances now. So that's a welcome sight. Interesting note about Christian Ramirez. He said that scoring the goal was a release of energy. He mentioned that his dad's dad, his grandfather, passed away during the match. Ananda. So
Condolencias for sure.
yeah, so this is a
Emotional one.
yeah, you never want to see that, but I mean, I'm glad that it was that release of energy for him. Greg Vanney was asked if Christian Ramirez is starting to become, that striker that he needs, and he says, or if he's starting to become adjusted to the team, and he confirmed. He says, I think he's adjusted where before he was hanging out in midfield positions and spending time in these low positions. I think now he's starting in high positions, and when we need him, he's arriving in a position, linking up the play, and he's getting out. And then that's putting him in better positions when we do get into the final actions, when he's able to work the spaces behind the center backs and get himself into good scoring positions. So yeah, I think he's adapting to the group and the needs of our group. We need to keep providing him with opportunities, and hopefully he'll keep finding the back of the net. It's good to get him into rhythm. It's nice when you have forwards that score, but we have to continue to contribute around him as well. I think that JP being back is going to open even more opportunities for Christian Ramirez. But Christian Ramirez, to go ahead and hammer up that point about him starting to feel more comfortable, says, I'm starting to get comfortable and understand my teammates, and the more I understand them, the more they understand me and my movements and where I'm going to be. It's good to see that throughout everything, there is a silver lining, and it's that Christian Ramirez is starting to find his groove. I mean, he said himself he's a 1 goal in 3 matches striker. Well, that's 4 games in a row. Hopefully, he is able to keep that going on Tuesday against Tigres. But we'll talk about Tigres here in a moment. Ananda, did you have a moment of the match? I mean, for me, it was the John McCarthy goalkeeper blunder.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it could also be the Edith Atuesta as well. Just the penalty shout. I mean, I feel like the game flipped on its head at that point. Even though we were under the cosh, I just felt like we were having the confidence at least to nullify Orlando at that point. But I just think as soon as that happened, not necessarily that I saw heads drop, but I think the performance level dropped. And I think conversely, I think Orlando smelled blood, right, Rob? I think Orlando smelled blood, and they really took it to us, man. So yours is the McCarthy one, which I sort of agree with. But again, I think the bigger one was the thing that happened before that, because maybe you don't get into a McCarthy situation, still 1-0 up in the game. And maybe Greg at that point brings on defensive substitutions, Rob. Maybe he takes out Fagundes, brings in Garces. You never know, right? You never know at that point. So yeah, I think for me, it's the pen, man. That completely, the ref decided to change the course of this game, unfortunately.
Well, Freeman is Orlando City's defending the badge winner, but who is your defending the badge winner for the Galaxy?
You mean what was the ref's name? It wasn't Freeman. What was his name? Oh yeah, it was Freeman. Oh, they are both Freemans. I was thinking of Freeman, the right back, as well. But yeah, man. So you want to go through the candidates first and talk about their plaudits here, or their achievements in this game?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So we have our 4 candidates here: Christian Ramirez, Edwin Cerrillo, Mickey Yamane, and Diego Fagundes. Obviously, Christian Ramirez with the goal, 3 total shots, 86% pass accuracy, 2 chances created, 3 duels won. Eddie Cerrillo with that beautiful ball to create that first goal, 93% pass accuracy, 13 passes in the final third, 1 clearance, 1 interception, 6 recoveries, 2 duels won. This is one of the first matches that I've seen Edwin Cerrillo be 2024 Edwin Cerrillo, and I like it.
Yeah, agreed.
Mickey Yamane with an assist, one of the most duels in the match with 7, 8 clearances, 1 recovery, and the Aguito Fagundes with 2 chances created, 86% pass accuracy, won 6 duels, and he hit the post in what would have been just a peach of a goal. This week, we didn't take it to the streets. Since we were doing a pre-recorded, we had to go ahead and pick a winner here. So Ananda, do you want to go ahead and do the honors? I'll do the drum roll.
Y el campeón por defending the badge, match week 6, is, after 2 votes, mine and Rob's.
There we go.
After 2 votes, our boy, local lad, Christian Ramirez. Yeah, man. I think he was easily both of ours. Rob, I think he was mine last week as well. And the thing about like having to snatch it away, it's almost like the defending champ kind of thing, right? From last week. But he's balled out, man. Again, I always go back to defending the badge in terms of part of that is mentality, how you bounce back, the graft. I think he showed a lot of toughness. And like I said, especially strikers, bro. That is a confidence position, 100%. You've seen after the first goal went in, and I even said at the time, it's like, he just needs to see one go in the back of the net, and I think it'll trickle for him, right? I think we generate enough offense. We're a type of team that generates enough chances for our strikers to finish at home. And you've seen the confidence thing. So not only is he scoring goals, I think his back to play has been great. He's held off center backs. He's received the ball in the middle of the pitch, laid it off to his midfielders, and then we go up the pitch, right? He's been that release valve. I think when we go up the pitch, he's been great at that. I think he's sort of hit those Dayon levels where Dayon's back to goal game was really, really good in the later stages of last year. And bro, you remember that play in the first half? A little flick. I think it was a Yamane, or I forgot who sent him the pass. A little flick from his toe sent Gabby Peck in, and Gabby, I can't remember if it was just a shot on goal or a missed shot. But you weren't seeing that Christian Ramirez in the beginning of the season, right? And so that's confidence, dude. If you're doing like little heel flicks, little back taps, and you know where your wingers are going to be, that to me is a sign of confidence. So shout out Christian, man. Like I think he's been killing it, and boy, do we ever need him, especially against Tigres, if we want to get out of this next round.
Christian Ramirez, your match week 6 defending the badge winner. Sorry to do this to you guys, but unfortunately now we have to talk about the MLS standings and where the Galaxy is. So after 6 matches, the Galaxy holds a 0-4-2 record, 5 goals for, 12 against. They are on 2 points at the moment, 0.33 points per game, -7 goal difference, and in 14th place, just 1 place above SKC, who is in last place. And Ananda, you you got to wonder where the relief is going to come from, right? So it's fortunate now that they have a chance to kind of rectify things, or have a
Yeah.
palate cleanser with their next match against Tigres, coming up on Tuesday, April 2nd.
They might cleanse our palate if we don't bring our A game. That's for damn sure. Tigres is a good team. We'll talk about it here in a second.
Yeah, no, they definitely are a good team. They have a very, very well drilled machine over there. But just to give you guys a recap, the Galaxy advanced to this match with a 4-2 win on aggregate over Herediano. That the highlight of that tie was the 4-1 in the second leg at the Digs, and that was pretty much the Galaxy's uh, biggest high point of the season so far. In 46 all-time Champions Cup matches, they hold a 22-13-11 record. They hold a 16-3-5 record in 24 all-time CONCACAF Champions Cup matches played at home. So that's encouraging. It marks the 9th time that the Galaxy have reached the quarterfinal round, and it marks the 2nd time that the Galaxy will ever play Tigres. The first time was in a 3-0 exhibition loss at the World Series of Football at the Digs. And yeah. So they have played each other before, Nanda, but like I mentioned, it was just an exhibition. So nothing crazy there, right? No competitive matches like a Champions Cup match or anything like that. But in looking at who could be available for the Galaxy in this one, you have your usual candidates there that are going to be out. John Nelson's been out for a couple matches now. Lucas Sanabria, Mauricio Cuevas, and Ricky Puig have been those long-term absences, and Marco Royce is still listed as day-to-day. I would expect to see him versus Tigres, with it being the kind of match that it is, but we will have match availability with Greg Vanney tomorrow, Monday. So when you guys are listening to this, it might have already happened. Who knows? That's the beauty of pre-recorded episodes, is that we're recording it now, you're listening to it then, or now in your world, and it's the multiverse, and the press conference will be tomorrow, which is my tomorrow, but your today.
I heard Josh in Corner of the Galaxy saying in a different or it was with Hammer. It might have been Hammer. In a different multiverse, the Galaxy would be undefeated right now. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean it's really just those fine margins like we always talk about, right?
Yeah, bro.
For Tigres, Gignac is going to be out, which is a blessed sight. The man is 39, but he still has goals in him. 31 matches in 24, 25, 11 goals, 1 assist. Center back Diego Reyes is also out, and Rafael Guerrero has not featured since his transfer from Cruz Azul to Tigres.
Yeah. By the way, just to be clear, kickoff is not at 11:15, guys. I am in a different time zone, so that's probably why it shows up. Kickoff, Rob, you can correct me there, will be at 8:15 p.m. on Tuesday at the Digs. Not 11:15, because that's my time zone. And again, if you guys private investigators, in terms of a clue of where I am, go use that time difference. That's all I'm saying.
Use the time difference. Well, we already mentioned Tigres is a good team. Their only blip recently is a 3-0 loss on the road to Club America. That's their only loss in 6 games, Ananda. Before that, they've been flying high. A 3-0 win over Santos. Before that, America loss. A 3-1 win over Cincinnati in the last round of the Champions Cup to progress. They knocked out Cincinnati 4-2 on aggregate. This team scores goals, 1.54 goals per match, 0.92 goals conceded. They are currently 4th place in Liga MX with an 8-1-4 record on 25 points. Ananda, in looking at potential starting lineups for both these teams, I'll leave the Galaxy side to you, but really quick, want to talk about how Tigres might look. This 3-4-3 that you're seeing here is not really the way they play usually. I mean, that's the way they lined up against Scuba Medica, and I think they did that to have a little bit more stability in that midfield. But they usually play that 5-3-2 with Angulo, Purata, and Joaquim as the back three, and then usually Aquino is the right wing back, and he does quite well at it. He gets really forward into the attack, and he creates a lot of chances. But really, the shine here is going to be in the midfield with Juan Bruneta and Rafael Carioca. I gotta say that Brazilian Rafael, right?
Yeah.
Rafael.
Yeah.
So Bruneta and Carioca
Matt,
are the
Matt,
bosses
Matt,
there in the midfield.
Matt Pollard would be so proud of you.
Oh, I know, and he does it so well. Shout out
Yeah.
Matt Pollard, wherever you are. So Carioca and Bruneta are really going to be where this game is won and lost for Tigres, and if the Galaxy are going to have any chance of having success in this match, then you really need to mind those two. Of course, you do have an attack that can score. Francisco Cordova, Ibanez, and Marcelo Flores lead that attack. Flores, in particular, is a speedy player. Isn't Marcelo Flores an ex-Arsenal player, Ananda?
No, I don't think so. Is he? I don't. Maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe he
Yeah,
was an
I'm.
academy kid.
Yeah, I think he was in their academy.
Could be
I
right.
could be wrong.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
could
You're
be.
right. You're right. You're right. Yeah. He barely got a sniff. Barely. Yeah. So we shipped him out pretty early from the. I was thinking of another Marcelo. Yeah. Yep. That's right. I just looked it up right now.
Maybe the Brazilian Marcelo. No. So yeah, Flores.
I wish.
He's a good pacey winger. Ibanez, he can score. I mean, Francisco Cordova can score. They create chances. Of course, we already let you guys know that Gignac is going to be out. But really, I mean, I've already talked about him. The player to watch here is Bruneta. We'll talk more about that in a second. Ananda, what are you saying from the Galaxy on the starting lineup?
Oh yeah. I don't know, Rob. The Marco Royce one is intriguing one for me. I don't know what the status reported on him, but I'm gonna assume that he's not gonna be ready because Greg didn't seem too optimistic, at least the press conference before the last match. So I'm just gonna assume that. And look, I think the first thing is depending on if everyone recovers well. Again, the turnaround time is really short for this one. The good thing is the only saving grace is that we are playing at home again, so there's no travel involved, right? And that's something to keep in mind too. I think for the Mexican team, and that they have to travel for this one. Maybe hopefully we can use that to our advantage, but I don't see many changes, Rob. Honestly, I think we're gonna go with the same starting 11. The only thing I will say is, again, we go back to that goalkeeper controversy. What's Greg going to do? Right. And I think that to me is going to be really interesting. And that's going to signal something one way or the other. I think that's the only, position in jeopardy. But again, things could happen for a lack of recovery. If Zanka doesn't recover well, maybe you see Garces in there. So I think those things are sort of manageable situations or situations that the team has to manage. And I think those things we'll find out in media availability. So stay tuned, guys.
Ananda, we are going to talk about some danger men, but you actually have a couple players that I haven't highlighted. So go ahead and tell us about these danger men for Tigres.
Yeah, I just pulled this up. This is stats from their season so far. I believe it's 11 or 12 games in, if I'm not mistaken. So Rob's gonna talk about Juan Bruneta in a second, but he is their leading goal contributor this year, 7 goals and assists.
Damn, look at those chances created, dog.
Yeah, 32 chances created. Insane. Rob talked about Aquino just a second ago, right? On the right-hand side, he also creates a decent amount of chances. You've also got Diego Lainez, who's their right winger as well, just behind there and with 4 goal contributions. And Joaquim, who is a guy that shows up in the goals and assists as well as the expected goal stats. So he's a guy that looks like gets up there as well, Rob. And I think you've got a couple players that you want to highlight here, especially that Juan Bruneta, man. He's in the top of every category. So clearly he's a guy to watch out for.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go ahead and cover him last, but yeah, you mentioned Diego Lainez, right winger, 10 matches, 2 goals, 2 assists in La Clausura. Again, the Mexican league is split into the Apertura and the Clausura. So in the Clausura, he has 2 goals and 2 assists. Jonathan Herrera, I wanted to bring up. I mean, he's not on the assists or goals lead here, chances created lead. However, he can play anywhere in their front three, and he's come up with the goods in the Champions Cup. 3 games, 2 goals, 1 assist. Of course, in 2024 and 2025, he has 8 goals and 3 assists in 40 matches. But that's, I mean, we always talk about, like the big game player, like the player that comes up with it when it matters. So far, the Champions Cup, he's done his thing. 3 goal contributions in 3 games. Fernando Gorriaran, defensive midfielder, a goal in Clausura in 9 matches. He might be important if they decide to go ahead and play with 3 midfielders. Here's kind of the X factor. Noel Guzman as well is a how like Dibu from Argentina always gets like the knock of being like too much of a shithouser, like he just like clowning all the time and stuff like that. Now Guzman acts a fool too, man. I mean, he will do his best to get underneath Galaxy players' skins. I mean, and he's a goalkeeper that can win you a match, saving penalties as well. So far this year, 13 matches, 3 clean sheets, 12 goals conceded, so less than a goal a match, which no Galaxy keeper can say at the moment.
Yeah.
And then we'll go ahead and wrap up with really the star of the show, Juan Bruneta here, center attacking midfielder. I mean, he really is the heart of everything that's good for Tigres. 13 matches, 6 goals, and 1 assist so far in the Clausura, and 43 matches in 2024, 25, 12 goals and 5 assists. You see how important he is, because Club America's game plan in that 3-0 win over Tigres was to limit Bruneta. They did so with effect, usually man marking him in that match, and Tigres was only able to produce 1 shot on target the entire match. So if I think if the Galaxy are able to limit Bruneta, they have a good shot of taking this match. Ananda,
Rob, really quick before
I mean,
we go,
we're all stuck.
I was gonna say, but really quick before we start wrapping up here and with our predictions and all that. Speaking of danger men, man, Gabriel Peck only has a goal this season. We haven't really talked about him a lot. He wasn't even in the defending the badge, right? So, and it's something I kind of thought about, which is he's clearly our danger man. So, do you have a thought or an idea in chat? Go ahead and put in the comments as well, and everyone listening. How do we get him on track? Like, what is there something that we need to do to get him on track, or do you think he'll just kind of play out of this funk?
I think he'll play out of the funk. I mean, Greg spoke about it as well, that he's not worried about Gabriel Peck. I think that the chances are going to start to fall, especially as his space opens up. You started to see it in the Orlando match. I mean, there was moments where he had a lot more space to operate in, and he started finding the ball more. I think that's going to continue to happen. He'll start getting the space that he needs to operate in, and that's going to create the space for other players as well. If he gets the space to work in, he's going to become more dangerous. That's going to draw defenders to him, open up space for other players like Christian Ramirez, who's already on a good streak. Yeah, I think he'll just play himself. He'll play himself out of it. I mean, he's a good player. He's creating chances. I mean, you saw the shot against Gallese. I mean, he's getting into good positions. Just
I think
got to shoot the score.
I think JP's reintroduction will help as well. So take some of that attention away from him.
Yeah, man. Do you have betting odds? Did you and Dr. Raquino do betting odds for this one?
We did do betting odds for this one. So you can go ahead and pull that up for now. And it's interesting, Rob. Both teams have the same winning percentage, at least at the moment. Again, 38% for the home team, 38% for the win team, or for the road team. And I didn't pull up the draw odds. That would have been interesting as well to see what the odds for that would be as well. Because it doesn't go to penalties and extra time until the second leg, right? There are ties in CONCACAF Champions Cup, I believe, in the first legs.
Exactly.
Yeah. So again, super interesting. I think it just goes to show how far the Galaxy have dropped off. I think it probably goes to show how good of a team Tigres is, right? I'm just pulling up. Do you have their league position at the moment, Rob? I'm just trying to pull that up now. They're fourth in their league
They're
in
fourth.
Clausura, at
Yeah.
least. Yeah, fourth and then third in Apertura. So again, they are 13 games, 13, 17 games in for the Apertura. I mean, they're a good team, right? They're in form. You just pulled up the form table. We pulled that up just a second ago. So maybe the odds aren't too surprising. This is going to be a tough game. We know it. So, Papa, what do they need to do to win, man? What do they need to do?
Yeah, I already touched on it. They need to limit the Brunetta and take care of the midfield. I don't know if Greg is going to go back with that Parente, Tucker Lepley, and Sergio midfield, but I mean, you mentioned that they're not. That the part of the reason that Espuesto was able to have success was that he was a little bit more physical than they were. I don't know if Greg is going to go back with that midfield for exactly that same reason. They might need a little bit more physicality. However, they do need the energy that those three bring. So it'll be interesting to see what Greg does. But yeah, really they need to limit Brunetta and carry the midfield. If they do, they'll have success. I mean, but they really just need to watch the Club America versus Tigres match and go, what did America do? Let's do that. And what America did is they limited Brunetta.
Yeah, I also think, man, the Galaxy need to find their mental edge again. They need to find that mental toughness again. This is going to be a difficult match. It's going to be, it's going to be KG against a Liga MX team. You know that Liga MX teams have a high work rate. They always get stuck in. So we're going to have to be strong on the duels, right? But more than anything, like if there's a setback, if Tigres has periods of sustained possession when we're suffering, right, and we have to be resolute, we've got to find that mental edge again. I feel like, especially this game, we lost it, right? We completely lost that mental toughness, that mental edge, whatever it is, those mental lapses. We can't have for sure. Tigres will for sure capitalize on mental mistakes, right? So we can't have those. And I just think, first things first, man, the Galaxy just need to recapture that mentality again. And then from there, I think things will play out on the pitch as they seem fit. But without that mentality edge, I don't think we have a shot in this tie in both legs.
Yeah, and should the Galaxy progress in this one, they have a very powerful Club America or a very powerful Cruz Azul team to go ahead and get past to get into the final. So,
yeah,
whether it's now or whether it's next round, the Galaxy will need to beat Mexican competition to get into the final. So, might as well start doing it now, right? So we've given you guys what we think the Galaxy need to do to win this match, and now we will give you our predictions. And since I went first last time, Ananda will go first this time.
You did not go first last time, but either way, I will concede. So anyways, but just remember this, chat, for the second leg, Rob's doing his prediction. Or sorry, actually, no, that wouldn't be the next match. It would be the next league match. You're doing your prediction. I'm going to text Alex, by the way, and remember to tell Rob that don't make him peer pressure you into this. You're the co-host thing, so you got to go first. You're going first because you're the tenured host on Lacuna Galaxiana.
I got to be hospitable. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be hospitable. But so predictions, guys. I will go first. Rob, this might be a surprise, but I'm gonna go for a narrow 1-0 win. I don't know why. I have this feeling that whether it's McCarthy or Mitrovic in the sticks, by the way, but I'm gonna say that there's gonna be no mental lapses. We're actually gonna get our first clean sheet, and I think it's because I don't know. A part of me says that in these matches, I mean, Greg Vanney's had experience as well in CONCACAF Champions Cup. And I feel like, the last game against Herediano at home, I think we had to have that four goal outburst, right? Because of, where it was in the tie, but also their team that we could capitalize on. I think for this game, though, Greg Vanney is going to give them Tigres a lot of respect, right? A lot of respect, and they play that 5-3-2 formation. So I think we're going to play a little bit more defensively. I think what Greg's going to say is, let's not give up the away goal. We've heard Greg Vanney talk about the importance of getting that away goal. So I think it's set up shop, make sure we're defensively sound, and when we get our chances, we take them, right? And I feel like Greg's going to manage this game a little bit differently in that regard. I also think there's going to be tired legs on that pitch. So instead of, running around and being controlled in possession and being super, super dynamic, maybe he'll say, just be based off of the rest period, like, we're not to say that we're going to take our foot off the gas necessarily, but just be a little bit more calculated and thoughtful in possession, right? And pick and choose those moments, but more than anything, not give up that away goal, because we know the importance of away goals in this competition. So, and because of that, I think it's going to be a cagey game, man. I think it's going to be 1-0. And I would be happy because that would be our first clean sheet. And I think it would show me a lot about this Galaxy team if they can hold a team like Tigres to a 1-0 win.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got to go for the opposite. I think that the Galaxy have had trouble in defense. They've been making mistakes, and then Tigres creates a lot of chances. So I'm calling a 1-0 Tigres. I mean, God, I hope to be wrong. But yeah, I'm calling a 1-0 Tigres. Unfortunately, so chat, don't cancel me. People that are listening, don't cancel me. Don't send me messages.
I would take a 0-0, by the way, in a heartbeat. I would take a grudge match or sludge match or whatever you want to call it, a Boar Fest. Take it back to Mexico and, take your chances. Right?
Whatever happens, happens. Yeah, no, definitely. I'll take a 0-0 as well. Unfortunately, like I said, Tigres creates a lot, and the Galaxy defense hasn't shown me how good they were, at the end of the season last year. So, I got to call that Tigres win. Again, don't cancel me off.
That makes me think maybe Greg might put Garces in there, right? Just to match that physicality. Who knows? It'll be interesting what the selection will be.
Yeah, well, that wraps us up. Chat, listeners, everyone out there, Galaxy fans. But we will be back with you live on Thursday, April 3rd with our Champions Cup reaction and a preview for away at RSL. And my co-host for the day, because Anandita is out living his best life, is going to be El Profe Alex Ruiz. He'll be subbing in for El Gitano Perdido, who will now be Perdido. And then a week from today, on Monday, April 7th, we'll be back to regular programming, and we'll have an RSL reaction pod / Champions Cup preview for the second leg versus Tigres. So make sure to go ahead and catch those episodes, and really go ahead and come out on Thursday and show El Profe Alex a little bit of love, y'all. So Ananda, anything else to add before we get on out of here?
No, man. Just again, Galaxy fans, hopefully the tide will turn. We've got another competition where we can, right the wrongs in what's going on in the league, right? And I think Rob aptly said it on the top of the show. This is like a release valve, or the top of the preview. I mean, this is like a place or a competition where the Galaxy can turn around their fortunes. And it's going to be tough, though, for sure. This is going to be tough. But boy, what it would do to the Galaxy's confidence to get out of this round. And get a result, whether it's a draw or a win at home in the first leg. So that's all I got to say, man. And I think there's only one thing left to say, right?
Yeah. Well, let's hope that Dr. Raquinho shows the Galaxy some favor on Tuesday. And you're right. Rega por nosotros. If you're listening to this pod, it's because you found us on youtube.com/@LacunaGalaxiana or somewhere on Spotify. Thank you so much for doing so. We appreciate it. If it was your first time with us, man, we loved having you. Come back and check out the live version of this pod on Thursday. If you're a return listener, we love you. Thank you so much for supporting and keeping us going. And yes, one thing left to say, which is LA strong, vamos campeones, and Jesus.